G'day YouTube, Max right here, and we got a great show for you today. Bitcoin breakout. Is this it? Are we headed for the next leg up, or is it a fake out? We're going to find out right here in this show. Plus, got an update on the fund for everybody. I forgot to do it last video, my apologies. And lastly, we're going to do members Q&A. So in this unlisted video that I sent out to members, they've given me 72 questions. And yeah, I'm going to go through and just answer each one. Probably, yeah, should take a good amount of time, but that's okay. We'll do that. And by the way, I forgot to celebrate. 25,000 subscribers is quite a milestone in YouTube. And so thank you guys for your support. Please like this video, smash that subscribe button if you haven't. And I've noticed a whole bunch of my videos are all about 900 likes, 850 likes. All the last few videos have been at that 900 likes. Can you help me out? Give me a 1,000 liked video. I haven't had one of those for years because I stopped doing this channel years ago and then I revamped it. So I used to get that all the time, but not anymore. So please help me out. All right, let's get into, we'll save the questions for later. Let's go over to Bitcoin. So first of all, yeah, you'll remember that what we were talking about here and what we were trading. We talked about that in this leg up, Bitcoin is doing these bull flags, all the bull flag action. Here's the bull flag, then here's the bull flag. Now, way back here, I gave you the heads up that I thought we were about to break out of this bull flag. I made that video. Then when we did break out, I went ahead and made this trade right here, pretty early on, at right around 46,000 here. I got this into this trade at 46,000. I put my stop loss down here in case I was wrong. We came back down below, okay? But I wasn't wrong. We have kicked off and we've gone up here and looking very, very nicely. Came down and tested support on this green trend line, and so looking very, very good. So I'm giving you a heads up. I am moving my stop loss. So again, my stop loss was down here, and I'm going to go ahead and move my stop loss now to the price I purchased at. Right, maybe even a little bit higher. So now I am guaranteed in profit. The price is way up here. If we come down and break through this trend line and come down, actually I was a little bit aggressive. I want to give it a little bit more room than that. So some probably around 44.5. 40. No, I can be a bit more aggressive. 45,000. So I'll put that stop loss at 45,000 now. That's on the trade that I got in here at 46. Okay. But again, I am holding this all the way through until I think Bitcoin gets to around 75,000. Now, I did buy some Bitcoin actually in my trading account. However, most of it is what I did. I bought altcoins, which has proven to be very fruitful. So as you'll recall, this is the Bitcoin dominance chart. I was waiting to see if we broke this trend line in the Bitcoin dominance chart. Let me give you a little bit more perspective of that one. And if we broke that, I thought we were going to come down and with quite an accelerated move. Let me move to the daily to with an accelerated move here down towards this lower blue trend line. I'm not sure if that will happen yet. However, we did break this. We have held it as resistance now for several days, and altcoins have been kind to me. But I think we're going to go a little bit further. So just have a look. Now, my biggest position here is Ethereum by far, and it has been very, very good. I think it's been one of the best performers of the top 10 alts. Let's look at Ethereum Bitcoin here, and you can see, yeah, I bought Ethereum here. So not only have I got the Bitcoin gains, but I've got the Ethereum gains multiplied on top of that. ADA coming good today. Excellent. Dash, I'm still holding some of that. I have a little bit of Link. Which did go up from 27 to 32, it's come back down to 30, and DOT, still holding DOT. So just so everybody knows, I'm holding DOT, I'm holding Link, I'm holding ADA, I'm holding Dash, I am holding Ethereum, and I'm holding Bitcoin. Ethereum is the biggest position by far in the portfolio. I think it's at least double everything else. I do believe that Ethereum is a sleeping giant. It's just been performing poorly over the last little bit, and you can see it's had this mega move, like from way up here all the way down to here. We're talking down 33-40% against Bitcoin. Okay, so I jumped in here at what turned out to be a local bottom. Let's see. We have not, by definition, reversed the trend. We could go over here, roll over here. We've still got lower highs, and if it comes down below, we've still got lower lows. So this is not a sure thing by a long stretch, but I just think that I really want to be in Ethereum right now. It's been a poor performer for the last month and a half, and I think things are about to turn around. That's with good reason, by the way. The gas fees got really high, therefore the utility of Bitcoin went down. Therefore, I think a lot of its competitors like DOT, ADA, and it turns out I was not on it, but Binance was the real winner of Ethereum's high gas fees. And so I think its competitors had its day. I think now there's several solutions coming out for Ethereum to fix that gas fees, and people will be front running that. Insiders will be front running that. So I decided to get on early. It might not be the lowest point of Ethereum. It might come down for another leg. But I think by April for sure, I think we're going to see Ethereum really explode. And so I'm in on Ethereum now, not wanting to miss that big move. So yeah, let's go back to Bitcoin here. And yeah, listen, we don't know, but my prediction here is that we do not, I don't think I'm going to get stopped out in this trade at all. I think we're going to see the next leg up. We really only have, we have a couple of trend lines in there, but by price point, it's just the 57,000, is it well, between 57 and 58,000, that high. That is all that we have to contend with. So yeah, look, it might take us a few days. We might even respect this trend line, and it takes us a few days to get up and break that. But once it does, I think we're really going to kick off quickly. We'll break through 60,000 quickly. And as you guys know, my target here is 74,000. 74,000 is the target. So let's see how that plays out. I'll be taking profits at around about 71, 72, and we'll see how we'll go from there. But that's how I'm going to play it. Okay, let me give you guys a quick fund update. For the vast majority of you, the fund is not interesting, and I apologize for that. But I do need to give those who are interested an update. My advice to you, my encouragement to you is I've been doing this for months. This fund journey started about 4 months ago, and the amount of bureaucracy and headaches. I forgot why I built my life the way I built my life, which is with very few employees. It's just me. I could make so much more money, but I could have 10 times the headache. And I choose to make less money and have no headaches, and I'm a lifestyle-driven person. And I encourage all of you to just go and learn how to do Bitcoin. However, some people pulled some heartstrings and said, Max, I'm just never going to get my head around it. Can you please do this for me? And so I said, all right, I'm going to do a real estate fund later in the year. I will do a crypto fund now. It'll be good practice for me. I'll learn how to do a fund. That way my real estate fund at the end of the year is my second fund, and I'll have a little bit more expertise in the area, and it'll be a good thing. So I decided to go ahead and do a crypto fund. Now I think this journey started back in December, and I think the price of Bitcoin then was about $16,000. So, and the amount of headaches and bureaucracy and legals, banks want to take, getting a bank account is so difficult. You've got to go to a specialized bank account. Some banks charge $600 a month just to have an account for a fund, just because you're difficult, especially a crypto fund. So I've discovered all these headaches in the road. I'm sorry, I'm learning this just as much as you guys, and getting a fund where you guys can invest into the fund with me so that I can go and invest. Just so you know, that's it's just been a true nightmare, taking so much of my time and waiting so long that the price of Bitcoin has moved 15,000 to over 50,000, which is frustrating for everyone. So I apologize to everybody that's taken so long, but that is the deal. We are getting closer. Last two components, I need what's called a fund administrator. And that's because two reasons. You don't want to trust me, but also it's a requirement of the bank. The banks don't trust me, which is fair enough. So there's this large organization where just have huge funds, that they manage huge funds, and I'm just one of those funds. And so they're going to be doing all the onboarding and we've got to do all the KYC, AML nonsense, all that kind of stuff. They've got to do that. So for that, just a quick update, I am hopeful that we will have a fund here in a few weeks. But and by the way, there's a couple of things very important. It's a minimum $25,000 investment. Minimum $25,000 investment. It's just this is the legals and headaches of it. The government thinks people who can't afford more than that are too poor to deal with, and you don't know what you're doing, and you're dangerous, and you're going to get ripped off by a charlatan. I don't agree with the government protecting people, but if that's the world we live in, and so it's just almost impossible to service those people. Minimum will be $25,000. Also, if you're new, I'm sorry, this is something, the laws of it, I'm not allowed to advertise this fund, so I'm not. This is just an update for the people who reached out to me and wanted to do it. So because I'm not allowed to advertise it, I can't accept people who are new, because this is me bringing it up to you on a YouTube video in a public forum, and this would be construed as advertising. So I can't accept new people to this fund. It's only the people that I've been dealing with already, who have already expressed an interest and have already been talking to me. They're the only people who can get in this fund. My apologies for that. These are just the rules of the landscape and the world of funds, and this is just how it's going to work. Okay. With all that being said, let's get into the Q&A. Yes, I think I've done everything that I promised that I would do, and we can get into the things. Let me have a quick pause here so I can have a drink. Where are you? There you are. And okay, we're back. So yeah, I'll try and I'll try and hit pause so you don't have to listen to me clearing my throat and having drinks of water. All right. So, once again, actually, you know what I haven't done yet? I haven't sorted them. Let's do that real fast. Let's go sort, and let's go sort by newest first. And that way, if you want to follow along with these questions so you can, maybe find your question faster or a specific question faster, I'll put the link to the video where the questions are written in the description of this video. Okay? So, our first question here is from this thing, unpronounceable, sorry. Hi Max, another question I have is, in what other altcoins outside of Ethereum are you invested in, or do you think they're going to be doing very well this year? Yeah, I do think alts are going to be doing well this year. And do you also play higher risk alts outside of the top 50? I don't. I would like to. It's just, it was a little bit too much headache for me, and I just have so little time. I just have very little time, and so unfortunately I don't go and play around with DeFi as much as I would like to, but I would love to go and play in that world, and I think there's some incredible profits to be done there. But on the risk-adjusted reward, there's a whole bunch of these, baby infant DeFi projects. Some of them are going to go to zero, some of them are going to go up, and so there's going to be big rewards there. But you got to choose one too, right? It's like, when the internet came out, you could have invested in Alta Vista or Google. One turned out very well, one not so much. So, you just have to consider that. So yeah, there's going to be amazing returns down there, but on the risk-adjusted return, are they much better than Bitcoin? That's kind of arguable, because you're probably not going to go in all in on one. You're probably going to go, oh, here's 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 DeFi projects. Spread your coins out. One of them might outperform Bitcoin by 5 or 10, but then 3 or 4 of them might go to zero. Yes, but there are some good things down there, and I don't get to go and play with them as much as I would like. Susanna, can you give us your opinion on having a large portion of wealth in your IRAs versus cashing out early for real estate at the right time? So, okay, you don't need to cash out to be in real estate. So I don't have a retirement fund. I never thought it was worth it, and so it's not really my world. However, to my knowledge, you don't need to cash out of retirement funds to get into real estate. You can just create a self-managed retirement fund, and then you can invest that retirement fund still in a tax-privileged way in crypto, in real estate, and anything else you want. Check that with your accountant, all right? Then this is the disclaimer for all these questions, guys. I'm not an accountant, I'm not a lawyer, just giving you my best advice as a journalist that I've kind of uncovered. But you need to check all these things. But there's no need, so although I didn't think it was worth it to ever have a retirement account, if you've got one and the money's in there, when you take it out, you take some pretty big tax hits, although several of those tax hits were reduced for COVID. So now might be an excellent time to get out. So they wanted people, if you need to live off some retirement funds during this COVID, they let you take some money out without the tax penalties. So something to consider. If you want to get out, it might be a good idea to get out now. You have to go and check that out. But if you're in there, yes, your money's in this 401k, but you can do a self-managed retirement vehicle in almost all circumstances in almost all countries. Once you are managing it, as long as you don't commingle the funds with your savings account or whatever, there's probably some other rules too, again, check, but you can invest in whatever the hell you want. So you don't have to take your money out of your retirement vehicle to invest in a different class. I trust capital, all this stuff where you can invest in gold and crypto. I see this may be an option to avoid crypto and crypto trade taxes. Yeah, I don't know. You're going to have to check them out. I'm not sure. I saw your strategy on going to cash in the Success Council and wondering if simply having it in an exchange in cash once one goes to cash is suitable. Any further thoughts for US citizens? Sorry, John, that was a hard question for me to get my head around. So, is it. Look, it depends on. Having your money sit on an exchange, be it cash or fiat, is somewhat dangerous. But also having money in bank account is somewhat dangerous. So my goal is to try and get it into real estate as soon as possible. But that's a very illiquid transaction. And so yes, there will be a portion. There will be a portion of time where I have cash sitting on either exchange or a bank, and that's okay. I'm gonna live with that. I'm gonna run that risk, but that's something for you guys to decide. And any thoughts for U.S. citizen? Yes. Yes. Get some election integrity. I don't know how to answer that question. I don't know what you're looking for. Hey Max, recently got a lot of my friends and family into crypto and have directed them to your videos because they're great. A lot of them are late to investing in BTC and have got excited hearing you mention that the last chance to get in will be when the stock market crashes. When do you expect this to happen and why? How much could BTC crash by during an event like this? So Bitcoin could get smashed by a good solid 50%, 60% or more during an event like this. In 2013, in the year of 2013, Bitcoin went up 100x. In April of that year, it went down 85%. So even if it goes down, I think it will recover quickly. An event like this Bitcoin would get smashed, but I think it will recover very quickly. In an event like that, I will come in and I will buy everything. I will just throw stuff at it, trying to get my hands on more Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin will get hit hard, probably harder than everything else, but recover quickly and with vengeance. And it's just, I'm going to back up the truck if that happens. In your annual webinar, you make the great point that all markets tend to go down together, the whale and the little fish. I think you believe, as we are in an everything bubble and primed for a major all markets dump. What do you think about sitting out of everything right now, assuming you already have some crypto, physical silver, and other assets, and hoarding cash to buy the expected crash? Yeah, look, it's definitely a reasonable strategy. It's one that would have cost you the last 6 months, and I was doing it certainly with a portion of my cash. I was doing it because Bitcoin just like tripled and went absolutely ballistic. And more than that now. Yeah, we're coming. Yeah, I think probably here in a few weeks from Bitcoin from 16. Well, let's go back to Bitcoin 10,000 even, which is still like less than 6 months. Bitcoin went from 20 to 50, and I think probably it's going to be at 70 within about a month. So we're talking a 7x in Bitcoin because you're sitting your cash on the sideline waiting for the crash. So that's what we missed out on. So yeah, I had a bunch of cash sitting around when Bitcoin was 10,000, when Bitcoin was 16,000, and I really regret not getting in on Bitcoin now with that because it would have turned out great. But I had this mentality. So you run this risk, and kind of I forgot to answer this in the last question. When do I think it's happening? I mean, just every day that goes past, it blows my mind. It should have happened. They've got the more tricks than Merlin the magician, these guys. And so they just keep on kicking the can down the road, printing money. And the question becomes, do they ever let it crash? See, I'm in the position where I have plenty of Bitcoin. The only way that the real estate market cannot crash is if they debauch the currency. And they just print and print and print and keep propping everything up. Well, if that happens, Bitcoin goes parabolic. So, which is what Bitcoin is doing now because of all the printing they're doing. So I'm in a position where I do have some cash on the sidelines, and I am waiting to maybe come in and buy some real bargains here. But maybe that would, if I knew the exact date of when it was going to happen, really what I would have done is deploy that in Bitcoin and then cash out just in time, and then buy and then come in and buy in heavy. But I'm not an insider. I don't have this information, and so I'm in a very comfortable position there where. If Bitcoin, if they debauch the currency and crypto and stock market and real estate never crash, then my Bitcoin holdings explode and I'm covered. I've got some cash on the side. If Bitcoin gets 50%, I'm not in a leverage position. Even if Bitcoin gets hits 50, 60, 70%, it's no problem. I don't have to sell. I can sit and wait. I think it'll rebound very, very quickly. So I'm willing to live with that. If it crashes 60, 50%, whatever, I can live with it, and then I got some cash on the side to jump in quickly. That's how I position myself. So I've got a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, because I don't know when it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen this year. Fingers crossed, I hope it's going to happen this year. But if it doesn't happen this year, I'm going to have to buy some real estate at the peak, because I have some tax consequence things that I have to do. And so basically, if I buy a piece of real estate with bonus first year depreciation and me being a real estate professional, I can basically, there's so many tax advantages with that. A whole bunch of money that I've made the last couple of years, both in crypto and elsewhere, I get all that tax free. So it's actually not me buying a property, it's the real estate giving me, it's the government basically buying a piece of real estate for me and giving it to me with all the tax benefits that go along with that. So I have to buy real estate this year for sure. I really hope it crashes so that I can come at the end of the year and get a bargain. If not, I will be buying real estate at the top of the market. So that's how that works. In your annual webinar, did I just read that? No, it looks like it. Yes, I did just read that. Okay. Hi, Max. Macroeconomic question. What do you think about the real estate market? Will it crash in the future? And when do you expect this kind of event? Yep, great question, but I just answered it. Thanks for what you do. How do you think the present mania surrounding the supposed global health threat and the possibility that the cure could lead to a massive reduction in the demand for real estate globally over the next 2 to 4 years affects the plan to take profits and invest in rental properties? I haven't heard this part about the cure could lead to a reduction in demand for real estate. Why? After all, if there is no one to rent the properties, then it could be a losing proposition. If that is the case, would it be better to huddle through all this? Okay, with the cure, I think you're going to say they're going to kill a bunch of people with the vaccination. Is that what you're saying? I'm not quite sure. But I don't think there's going to be some mass death event thanks to either Corona or the cure, the vaccination. I don't think there's going to be some mass death event. So therefore, I'm not worried about the population being reduced in any significant way. After all, but we still have the instance. So yeah, I don't think real estate is going to get hit long term that hard. It will get hit hard, but then I don't think it'll get hit long term hard, and certainly some segments. I think B and C class residential is going to be fine. Yeah, absolute office and retail. Oh yeah, destruction, absolute destruction. Hotels, destruction. They may come back though, but yeah, retail and office, I don't think they'll come back very quickly. But B and C class residential, I think is going to come back in a normal cycle. We'll see how that goes. In your assessment of BTC value proposition, how do you factor in FinCEN or other regulatory bodies and potential negative publicity campaigns likelihood of spooking investors? Yeah, there's two main black swan events that I think can happen to Bitcoin, that are likely to happen to Bitcoin. At some point, the government's going to crack down on it and just make the on-ramps and off-ramps difficult and just cause a whole bunch of headaches. All right, that will hurt the price of Bitcoin for a short amount of time. But you also have to think about, when is that going to happen? I think that for them to do that, for them to be that desperate to do that, then the fiat currency is failing and well down the path of failing. And so many people are just going to be like, I don't trust you. I don't trust government. I'm enjoying this collapse in trust of government. It's like half a century too late, possibly, arguably. But the people in Venezuela don't follow the rules. Think of Venezuela. It's like you're not allowed to publish the inflation rate. You're not allowed to discuss inflation in any publication, other than the official inflation rate. But people do, because desperate people don't follow rules. They do it. They can't subject themselves to the imaginary world that government and Facebook and Twitter and YouTube want us to confine ourselves to, because we'll starve to death. So while things are okay, we'll stop talking about the truth in social media channels. Okay, we'll pretend we trust the government, but we don't in polite society. But once you're starving, once society is ruined, and once hordes of people are having food shortages and things as what happens in like Venezuela, now no one cares about the government's rules. No one cares. And so, I mean, by the time they come around to outlawing Bitcoin, no one's going to care. It's like, okay, you can outlaw it, but with that I can eat. And with this, it's like a 50% tax every year through inflation. Yeah, no, thank you. I'll run the risk of being a bad little boy all of a sudden. If they had the courage to be the bad little boy earlier, then we wouldn't be in this situation. But I'm not trying to preach, from an ivory tower here, because I'm the same. I know the reason I know this so well is because I'm the same. I have so much to lose. Then I want to be a good little boy too. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to be the one where they shoot one, scare 1,000. I don't want to be the one that's shot. And so this is the way the psychology plays out. And so, but once people are hurting, they will ignore the rules. And so, by the time FinCEN and everyone comes around to do something, it'll hit the market hard. But by and large, it'll recover quickly because people won't care. Let's see. In your assessment, we've done that one. Thoughts on this statement. Until you have a P2P wallet where you can carry your digital keys in your hand and transact with another internet connection, digital coins will only be a digital extension of fiat. What Muppet said that? That is the ignorance is incredible. So, fiat, the big problem with fiat. There's two things. Fiat, by definition, is Latin, it means by decree. People use it because you have to use it. You have to pay your taxes in US dollars or any kind of other fiat for the local currency, or you go to jail, right? No one wants to use those currencies. You have to. It's by decree. Second, there is no limit to their supply. They can print and print and print and print. Digital coins, like Bitcoin, digital coins have neither of those properties. It is a finite supply. No more than 21 million Bitcoin will ever be created. Step one. Step two, people don't use it because they're forced to. People use it because they want to, right? Two massive, massive, massive distinctions. Yes, both of them are digital. Fiat is digital now, yes, and Bitcoin and other cryptos are digital. But the ignorance of that statement is mind-blowing. Assuming they were talking about digital coins and they were including Bitcoins in that. If they were saying digital coins like USDC, then, so like a central bank digital coin, then that might be different. Then yes, of course, there's still fiat. Your last few days have been exceptionally helpful. In your last video, you mentioned trading in a few altcoins. Do you set up your stop loss the same way as Bitcoin using the bull flag measure, or is it better to go shorter? Now, it's better to go longer, meaning my stop loss is even further because altcoin markets are more volatile. My stop loss is even further away. So because I want to stay in the trade longer. But I don't set it up as neatly as I should because it's hard to do that if the Bitcoin breaks through that line of resistance and therefore I think is going to go down. Then the problem is I can't set a stop loss on Ethereum for the Bitcoin price. At least I don't know how to. If it can be done, I don't know. I don't know how to do that. So no, I just watch it really closely. Hi Max, I'm in the UK and I have alerts and alarms set up. So my phone goes off if Bitcoin crosses the threshold and I can go to the computer and cash out of the alts. I'm in the UK, I have money locked into a personal pension. I cannot invest this money directly into Bitcoin, but I could get Bitcoin exposure by investing in companies like MicroStrategy or in Bitcoin mining companies. What do you think about these options? With the increasing risk of bank failures and bail-ins, where is the safest place to keep cash? Yeah, look, investing in MicroStrategy, I haven't actually done the numbers on it, but I know they're down like 50%. And like so that there's definitely an argument to say, and I mean that in a good way, they went up massively and then they came down 50%. And if you look at the numbers now, it is probably just a very good time to get into MicroStrategy. But you have to do the numbers. How much Bitcoin are they holding? How much debt are they holding? And how much is the value of their business beforehand? And you could see that it's a pretty good way to get into Bitcoin. But I haven't done the numbers on that. I'm totally new at this and I tried using Coinbase Pro to buy Bitcoin, but it won't accept my bank. How else can I buy with a small fee? Do I need to change my bank? Yeah, hi Rose, I don't know. You haven't told me what bank you use. You haven't told me what country you're in. Yeah, I mean, I can't help you with this. You just have to do some research. If you're not in the US, I think using something like Binance or even Bitfinex, so they're in like Singapore or Hong Kong, and they're used to dealing with foreigners, and so that helps. If you're in the US, they prefer not to deal with you because you're kind of a headache. So if you're in the US, then yeah, so okay, Coinbase didn't accept your bank. So I don't know, well, what bank is it? If it's a bank in Kuwait, then yeah, I get it. They're not going to accept it. If it's Chase Manhattan, they're going to use it. So, I don't know what's wrong with your bank. I don't know why. Is it like, Coinbase being douchebags and the bank was Wells Fargo? Or was it Coinbase being completely reasonable and you used a bank in Afghanistan? So, yeah, you haven't given me enough information to answer that question. But you got to do the research and hunt around and find it. I suspect there's something weird about your situation which you have to overcome. I have a guy emailing me back and forth, and he wants to live off the grid. So, okay, he lives in the US, but he doesn't have a US social security number, and he wants to live off the grid. And you want to use a US bank account. I mean, forget about it. Like, you're no chance. You need to, if you want to live off the grid here in the US, you have to have, like, if you want to get into the banking world and you want to use a traditional exchange like Kraken, like, forget about it. They are under KYC and AML legislation, and they're going to have to check you and vet you. And you're doing all this weird stuff. Forget it. If you want to live off the grid, you got to pay the price. The price is you got to go and do everything off the grid. That means you got to go and find a way to buy Bitcoin off the grid, and there are ways to do that. You can go to Bitcoin meetups and meet people there, and start trading money, start trading Bitcoin for cash. But if you want to do that, that's what you got to do. If you want to be nice and simple and have a Chase account or a Wells Fargo account and pay your taxes and do all the things, you get to move more quickly. That's the trade-off at living off the grid. You got to decide if you want to stick with that or if it's worth it. When people talk about living off the grid, no one explains how hard it is. It's hard. Like, it's hard. It's really, really hard to get very rich living off the grid, I think. Because you're locked out of everything. And everything takes longer and is a bigger headache. But it's kind of, I get the upsides to it, for sure. And maybe, we don't know. You don't know where things are going to go. Things could go Hunger Games and they can come and try and take everyone off of everything. Yeah, well, my chances of hiding and escaping the state are pretty slim. So, because I'm just so in the system. There's an advantage to being in the system. In that scenario, it turns out good. But man, you pay the price until you get there, until that happens. If you're close to the peak of the bull market and you sell your BTC and wait on the sideline, and the dollar collapses, you will lose all your money. Yes. Where else could one park his or her money to have it protected by a US dollar collapse? If the US dollar collapses, just stay in Bitcoin. Even though, yes, you might be at the top of the Bitcoin bull market, just go that. If not, you can go, you can try precious metals. So, but you're talking about a dollar collapse, not an economic collapse. So there's different there. You're just saying the dollar collapses. You're basically describing hyperinflation. I mean, just if that's the case, you stay in Bitcoin, you stay in gold. Because I don't know if that cycle is going to play out like that if the dollar is collapsing. Would DAI be a safe place if the US dollar collapses? No. DAI is a peg to the US dollar, so no. Or simply leave your money in BTC. Although BTC will drop, it'll go down. Yeah, so, okay, in the instance of a US dollar collapse, I would be in BTC and metals. Because if BTC is collapsing, you don't have to worry about the 4-year cycles. People are just going to be running to BTC and gold. Hi Max, crypto novice and also invested in real estate when the time is right. If US is not an option, any other countries that you think real estate could be worth investing in? Yeah, for sure. I'm not super dialed into the world real estate market, but basically, I would start looking for wherever got hit hardest. Like in America, what I do is look for wherever hit hardest. Last time, there was Vegas, it was Florida, and it was California. They were the 3 biggest places that got hit the hardest. All 3 of those outperformed the market the following 10 years. So they were numbers 1, 2, and 3 in terms of market performance in following 2009. So wherever it gets hit hardest, that's where I would like to look. And that was true, like let's say you live in England. All right, I would probably, especially if you're a novice real estate investor, do your first couple of transactions in England, because at least you speak the language, you know the customs, you got a chance at, your bank account. There's a lot of headaches in doing these things, right? At least do your first few transactions in England, and in those markets, look for wherever gets hit hardest. But if you're for the more adventurous real estate people out there, yeah, look wherever it gets hit hardest. And I haven't looked into this, but I really, really respect Raoul Pal. And he's saying after the next crash, India, like emerging markets, and especially India, is just going to do gangbusters. I also know Australia is going to do really well. They've got really good demographics, way better demographics than everybody else, largely because of a very stringent immigration policy. They did have, they've had a merit-based immigration policy for a long time. So the people that come in are, producers and not welfare recipients, and they have kind of replenished their aging popularity with young, well-educated people who can actually produce. And so, Australia's got a really good place for demographics, and I believe I know about Australia firsthand. I've researched that. The Indian thing, I'm taking that at Raoul Pal's word, saying it's a really, really good place to invest after this next crash. Hi, Max. I just did that one. In your opinion, would it be prudent to consider taking profits on some of one's BTCs? By the way, thank you for using the word ones. I love it. I love that proper use of English. It's a word that's missing in our language, and it is the correct use of ones, and I love it. Side note. Taking profit on some of one's BTC toward the top of the cycle and hodl the balance, or simply hodl it into the next cycle. Well, sorry, I'm getting tired. What happened? Would it be prudent to consider taking profits? Yes, of course, would we consider taking profits. Just so you know, the last few cycles, I haven't taken profits. And I just hodled it, and that turned out great too. But maybe it turned out better if I took profits and paid the taxes and then came in and did it again at a lower level. Yeah, that can happen. So just so you know, right? Take profits. I think taking profits is a good thing. But it all depends on, if you got, it depends on what percentage of your portfolio it is, I think. That's a big one. If BTC is a minority of your portfolio, you've got other traditional assets, then I just want to keep as much of it in as possible, and it's not worth the tax hit. Now, there's a chance that the cycle is different. It's probably going to be the same, but there's a chance that the cycle is different. If it doesn't go bubble mania crazy, and let's say at the end of this year, Bitcoin's like $100,000, I would say Bitcoin has changed fundamentally. It's not going to, this cycle at least is going to get muted. The upside was very low, and I don't think the downside is very low. So I probably wouldn't take profits at 100,000. Even if we're in like December and it's like the end of the year and the timing is perfect for the market to crash, I wouldn't take profits at 100 grand. If it's at 300 to 500, yeah, I'm going to take profits up there. But so much of it depends on your situation, John, and your risk tolerance and your other assets. There's just so much to it. There's just so much to it. Okay. Question and request. Man, I'm a huge fan of your teaching style, and it's really simple and precise to understand. Could you or someone you trust teach us more about leverage trading? Soon, bear market will start, and not every one of us can go for the real estate market. So leverage trading in a bear market could be profitable for staying in crypto. Yeah, I'm just not the person to do it. I'm not a professional trader. I'm getting pretty good, I would say, so maybe. And I do have a beginner's trading course in the Success Council. But maybe another year or two of experience, and maybe when we get to that bear market, maybe I'll do a more advanced course. God bless you. I'll check the Telegram link in the description. Yeah. I wanted to take a quick break here because I wanted to mention this site, simplyhodl.com. It's like the Drudge Report of crypto. And so you got crypto articles, crypto YouTubes, and crypto Twitters. It's updated every single day, 365 days, and it's a great place to get the daily news at a glance. So really, really cool site. Check that out. All right, back to this question. Let's see, Max. Are you chatter about another potential flash crash for BTC to the 38K range? Somewhere around March 3rd. I don't know. I haven't heard the chatter. Who knows? There's always chatter. Hey Max, thanks for all your good work. What, in your opinion, is the best way to get out of the market temporarily while waiting for the dip? I recently liquidated my Theta for USDT on Binance as my choices were limited, but wanted to be on the sidelines for a spell. I think you may have said you don't care for Tether. Why is that? It's just it's a trustless world. Crypto. I like being in the trustless world of crypto, and Tether is not trustless. I have to trust that someone has real US dollars sitting in a bank account backing Tether one for one, and I can't do that by definition. So I have to. It's not as cool as some other scenarios. Um, so maybe in that case there are some cryptographic stable coins. So maybe looking at some of those might be better. But just again, the cryptographic, yes, they're on the blockchain, yes, but the question becomes, is their algorithm sound? And are the mechanisms for keeping it pegged good? So you do have to do a little bit of research on them too. So maybe look at them. Maybe Dowcoin or something like that is a good one. Okay. Your video markets are always and updates are always priceless. Thank you for your efforts. Thank you. Uh, I really recommend Success Council to everyone. Thank you very much. Question. Question introduction. I love it. You talked about a violent crash and a wealth shift from stocks to USD and gold and crypto. In many previous videos and on the webinar, I've been following some smart investors for many years. However, none of them managed to get to the heart of the issue as well as you do. Thank you. Thanks. What is your take on the current situation, especially in the stock market, and what are your current timing predictions? Yeah, I kind of answered this already. So yes, there is a crash coming. The question is when, and I really thought it would have happened the last couple of years, but it didn't. And so yes, now I think it's going to happen this year. But I've been wrong for a couple of years, so maybe they just managed to kick the can down the road. But the only way they're doing it is getting there is to debauch the currency. That's why being in crypto is so important. If the crash just never comes because they just keep printing and keep bailing out industry and sectors of the government and everything, which they can do forever. The only catch is inflation will go rampant. They can't keep printing money like that, and then you want to be in something like Bitcoin. So I'm in Bitcoin. My theory is that if this market crash happens, which it will. If it will, then Bitcoin is going to get smashed, but it's going to recover really fast and head in a good direction. So I'm willing to take that hit, and I know that I know where the puck's going to be. So the Bitcoin is going to do very well. If this cataclysmic event happens, it gets hit real fast and then comes back with a vengeance. So I know where the puck's going to be. And of course, if the crash never comes because they print and print and print, then Bitcoin gets there much quicker and much faster and much smoother. And so that's why Bitcoin is such a safe bet for me. Yes. What altcoins are at the top of your list in the eventuality that Bitcoin dominance breaks lower from here? So I told you those ones at the beginning of the show. There's some other things I'm looking at. I'm looking at Thorchain, which let's just go sideways here a little bit. And I got this from an interview with Eric Voorhees and Raoul Pal, if you want to check that out. But the world of DeFi is all on the Ethereum blockchain or on some other blockchains. And blockchains don't talk nice to each other usually. So if you want to trade Ethereum, native Ethereum for native DOT, for example, I don't think that's possible at the moment. But the DeFi craze, all the things happen on Ethereum 20. You could only trade ERC20 tokens. What Eric says, and I respect him highly, he's very much plugged into the industry, and he's one of the big four Bitcoin OGs. Like he was around in 2011, and so really respect him. He's saying that one company, Thorchain, is leading the charge on this, but there are some other companies looking at it. They're close to hopefully solving the problem of being able to do DeFi with native tokens. So now, rather than trust BlockFi or somebody else to lend your money to and they can lend it out, there will be a cryptocurrency solution, DeFi solution, where you can lend your native Bitcoin onto the chain and lend it to people in a 2-to-1 collateralized situation where someone can put their Ethereum or their Tether on the blockchain. You can lend them Bitcoin, you can earn interest on your Bitcoin, and that whole thing will be trustless and within the bounds of mathematically safe. So if those things happen, and that happened this year, Bitcoin is just going to go. Whenever that happens, just Bitcoin just goes off, absolutely goes off, and leaves everybody else for dust. Right? When that happens, if that happens, and so I'm looking at something like Thorchain, and I have found a little bit of time to start investigating that. But again, I just struggle to find the time to do this. I've got a lot of other things that need to be done. And so, yeah, if anybody else wants to do the research on that, let me know. I'd really like to know some really good videos and articles on that. All right, I just did that one. Can you comment on the effect of the historically low velocity of money, which is deflationary? Can you affect on the historic? Okay, yep. If money isn't circulating, yep. Which is what the governments of the world seem to be doing. This would support the idea that currencies aren't going to crash, but will lose value slowly. So if everybody know, the inflation is really the rate of inflation is a compound of two factors. One is the money supply, and the other is the velocity of money. Velocity of money is how many times does money change hands. I'm just sitting, like the velocity of Bitcoin, I think, is pretty low. Most people just hodl it, and it just sits there and doesn't move. And so the fact that the price is still going up means demand is just picking up. It's an interesting thing, because velocity is not that high in the world of Bitcoin. At least I don't think. With some of the money on the exchange, it's very high. It could be traded 100 times a day. But okay. So yeah, this is true. What happens is, as governments print and people, and not necessarily, but by definition, people get scared. It's like, well, what's happening in the economy? We got COVID, and they save and they pay off debts, and they don't just get more debt and keep spending on stuff. So the velocity of money goes down while the supply of money goes up, and the result is you don't necessarily see a big jump in inflation. But usually what happens is, at some point, they put the money up so much, and all of a sudden people start to think, hang on a minute, they're printing, this can't be safe. I've got to get money out of my hands. And so I'll go and buy real estate, and I'll go and buy stuff. You'll go and buy stuff with your money because you can see it being devalued. And then all of a sudden, the velocity comes back with a vengeance. Now you've still got the supply up here, and the velocity goes up here, and the inflation goes crazy. That is what usually happens. But it usually goes in this cycle. So I'm a big fan. Mike Maloney explains this well. There will be a deflation before there is massive inflation, because which I think we're kind of living through now to a degree. The velocity goes down, the supply goes up. I think it's going to continue to go a little bit further for a while, and then the velocity is going to skyrocket. Okay, hi Max. Thanks for all you are doing. I have a few questions I'd like to comment. What do you think about crypto IRAs? I find being able to grow money tax-free appealing. Only downside is high trade fees. Is it safe to leave crypto in IRA accounts? Kind of answered this before, but just if you're going to do a retirement vehicle, I would just do it myself with a self-managed retirement vehicle. What is the risk of trading in accounts like Bittrex? I think they don't let you download BTC. It's happening to cold storage. Please advise. Well, the challenge there is, well, you're going to have to hold it there for a long time. And if you can't download it, the only way to take profits is to sell it, to get it off there is to sell it. So if you ever want to get it off, you're going to have to liquidate it, which sucks because that's a taxable event. So that's not fun. But are you sure that's true? Because they might have several levels of accounts where if you go through some extra steps, you might be able to get there. Is my wallet ID my private key? No, it depends on, I think you're kind of talking about using BlockFi, not BlockFi, blockchain.com there. And your wallet ID for them is not your private key. In fact, your wallet ID is never a private key, ever. Some people use the phrase wallet ID to be the public key, but your wallet ID is not your private key and never ever is in any situation. Hi Max, in the last Q&A I asked your thoughts on staking. You said you didn't, but probably should. I also asked about your thoughts on Celsius, but didn't catch any response about that. Allegedly, they have paid out more interest than all other platforms combined. They seem very credible. What do you think? I have had a quick look at Celsius lately, and they have much nicer interest rates compared to, almost double the interest rates compared to BlockFi. So you're talking about 6% interest on Bitcoin instead of 3% interest. They also appear to have great loan programs at 1%, et cetera, et cetera. At 1%, thereby allowing us to never sell, no taxation, yet access the value. Yeah, look, Bitcoin is a pretty solid project. I'm interested in it. I've started taking a little bit of looking at that, and it is a cool. I don't think they're cryptographically secure, so you do have to trust human beings, but it's a really nice. And I even like their tokenomics, and I like that you get bonus interest rate if you hold their coin, and their coin has done exceptionally well lately because people are encouraged to hold their coin, and also that'll increase the interest rate they get when they deposit Bitcoin on their in their program. So look, I think it's a really good model. I think the guy who runs that is a pretty smart guy, and so it's definitely got some legs and worth a look. But it's just not cryptographically secure, which just always makes me hold back. I think we're really close. Hopefully we're within 6 to 12 months of cryptographically secure doing exactly that. And I mentioned Thorchain earlier, hopefully is trying to achieve that. And if that happens, it's just, we're off to the races. Hello, Max. I have 2 whole life insurance policies with significant loan value. Would you recommend using some of the money to invest? Interest rate presently is at 5.15%. As I'm sure you are aware, the interest payment on the loan goes back to me in my account, so it is a self-loan. Yeah, I mean, the whole reason you set this up was to borrow money from yourself, right? So I guess if you're not borrowing money from yourself, then what's the upside here? So you've done this, and the fact that you've got a significant amount of money there, you probably did this several years ago at least, and it's built up to something very nice, and now you can borrow from it. Yeah, so look, it would have been nicer to do this kind of 6 months ago. So as the Bitcoin price goes up this cycle, the risk goes up. I still think Bitcoin's going to go high, but it was a lot safer to buy it at $10,000 than at $50,000 because of this market. This market tops. Let's say we don't know where it's going to be, but let's say the market tops $300,000. Yeah, when you're buying at 30, you're closer to it, but maybe you're so close that maybe the market top is 70, and you get in, it goes back down, it just goes back and it stays down there for a couple of years. So the higher the price goes, the more risk there is. But if you don't have any crypto, I would definitely be doing it. But this all comes down to risk-reward ratio, guys. You're asking a lot of questions. Sorry, risk profile. It's your risk appetite. It's like I think my job is to teach you the concepts here, show you what the pitfalls to look out for. You all understand that if you do leverage, you're borrowing money to buy Bitcoin. You understand that there's leverage in the game. If you can hold for a long time, I think you're a very safe bet. If you're doing it in such a way where you can get margin called and have to pay it back when you don't want to, that could be a problem because we could get a black swan event. The price of Bitcoin could go down 30, 40, 50, 60, 70%. So if you're doing it in this situation where you can borrow against yourself in a very safe way, it's a relatively safe thing. But you're not at the beginning of the cycle. You're some portion of the way through it, and so there is a little bit of extra risk there. Yeah, okay. Max, someone keeps deleting my question. I'm the only one who can delete the question, but YouTube does have an algorithm to get it. If you're putting links in there or maybe making claims about making money, maybe they're deleting it for you. So just change the way you write it. Are there any stock asset classes that you can share that you think are good to be in now? Stock? No, I don't. I just don't follow the stock market that closely. I look at the Dow Jones just to see what's going on. I think it kind of has some effect on the Bitcoin market, even if it's an inverse effect or something. I kind of look at that a little bit, but I don't look at individual stocks. During a recent video, you mentioned a fund status update. There you go. You got the fund status update earlier. What do you see as the risk level of being in precious metals if you're not currently? You mentioned government confiscation as a risk. Where do you see that risk level during a dollar crash event? I feel the need to be in PM if things go bad and the power grid is down, no internet. Yeah, it's the risk. Really the only risk to metals is government confiscation. Maybe you could argue another risk is Bitcoin stealing the show, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think precious metals are going to do just fine. And the gold is down significantly the last few weeks, so it's probably a pretty good time to get in on that. So, but yeah, I mean, you're understanding all of the risks. That's my job. My job is to educate you so that you get to this point, so that you can see all the risks. Now you have to weigh the risks up, and it's a risk profile thing, and it's a portfolio thing. Like you want to be in a situation where you never want to just like, oh, the market's going to crash. I know that with 100% certainty, and therefore I'm going to put all my eggs in that basket. So, I mean, you can do that, and if it works, it's going to do very well. But again, that comes down to risk appetite. But I like to create bets where even in the worst case scenario, I'm going to be all right. Which is like I described with my Bitcoin one. If the market gets destroyed, Bitcoin could go down 50, 60%. Absolutely can happen. I think it'll come back roaring with vengeance. And so holding Bitcoin with little leverage is a nice safe bet, in my opinion. Hi Max, I think I missed the update on the BTC investment opportunity you were going to start. Can you give me an update? Yep, gave you the update. Is it possible for an economic system at any level to ban crypto? Yes, you can ban anything. You can ban free speech. You're not allowed to say stuff. So you can ban anything. The question is, what's the effectiveness of that ban? How much do people listen to that ban? And what's the likelihood of them doing that ban? So yes, I mean, which I kind of answered in previous questions. But is it possible? Yes, it's possible. What's your view on two gold miner ETFs? I've had long-term holdings in both ETFs and thinking about reducing my positions. So yeah, I don't know. I haven't looked at gold mining ETFs at all. I haven't looked at them at all. Mining just doesn't interest me. I don't have expertise in it. And for the vast majority of the time, being a Bitcoin investor, just making money at what I'm good at, and then just buying Bitcoin off the miners has worked very well for me. To go and trade in my skill set for an industry I know nothing about, technology and mining, and not my world. So I don't know anything about mining, and I don't know anything about the ETFs in it either. I've read throughout the years that the banks of derivatives are in a quadrillion. What does this mean for crypto's bank failures? If this bankster casino implodes, what could be the outcome? Yeah, anything can be the outcome. But stuff is severely broken and things have to break. Then the only question becomes is, when it breaks, what does the government do? Let everything collapse, because they're all intertwined now. When they collapse, everything collapses. When it breaks, what does the government do? They can do two things. They can print money forever and try and bail everything out, or they can let it all collapse, right? If they let it collapse, everything gets crashed, and then I think Bitcoin comes out of this roaring ahead, so this shit never happens again. If it doesn't collapse, Bitcoin goes parabolic because they've got to print trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. That's why the Bitcoin is such a good bet right now. Your bright, clear face is a great uplift every day. Thank you. I think it's not too bad today. I think usually I overexpose my face and I'm a little bit too white, but thank you. How do I access the self-directed retirement account assistance for Success Council members? So if you go into the history of money section, there you scroll down. By the way, for everyone who understands, the history of money section is critical that you go and check that out. Actually, is it called the history of money section or the gold and silver section? I'm not sure, but it's the biggest section. It's critically important you go through all that. That all the big macroeconomic stuff is in there. And then there's gold and silver. And even if you're just interested in crypto, you want to be interested in that. In that area, there's stuff on retirement accounts. There's two sections. The one you want is the second one. If I'm buying a partial of a coin, how do I figure the decimal based on the price of the coin and the amount of dollars I'm using to purchase? I mean, that's just straight math. If you have $10,000 and you want to buy, Bitcoin at $50,000, then you're going to get 10 over 50, which is a fifth. So you're going to get a fifth of a coin, which is 0.2. So it's the amount of money that you want to spend divided by the price of the coin, and that gives you your fraction of the coin. If you're talking about buying exchanges, very often they have like 100% or 75% or something like that. You can just click on that. It's like spend 100% of my money on buying Bitcoin, or spend 100% on buying Ether or whatever it is, or 75%. And you can just click that and it does the math for you. So very often the exchanges do that math for you. Also, on a more macroeconomic question, I have no. Let me read this question in reverse, just in case. Big fan from the Netherlands. Hello, Netherlands, my fellow giant people. Most people don't know, but I'm 6'5". You only see me from the shoulders up, but I'm 6'5", and I've never ever been to a place except for Netherlands where I'm just like the average heighted guy. When I walk into a bar, I can see across. I can see everyone's eyes. I can just see everybody. You go into Netherlands, all I see is the backs of other dudes' heads. It's a weird experience for me. I know you don't know this coin, but I wish to know what you think about this coin. It is a blockchain on mainnet, which is parallel world to Ethereum, which can handle 5,000 transactions. So it solves the gas fee. Yeah, you're right. I don't know that coin. I can't give you. There's a million things that you need to understand about a coin before you invest in it, or not before you invest in it. But the one for me to give advice and a public opinion, I need to know so many things about a coin. There's no way you could give me that information. So, but I can tell you the idea is promising. I think there are some other people doing it as well. But yeah, the idea is promising. When drawing bull flags on a chart, is there an optimum time scale for making good trading decisions? No, the bull flags work on all charts and all time frames. It's actually the trading style. So you can be like a long-term investor, you can be a day trader, you can be a swing trader, and those are the kinds of things which actually dictate which chart you use. You use the minute chart, the 5-minute chart, the hourly chart, the daily chart, but bull flags work in all circumstances. What are your thoughts on investing in real estate by constructing a home right now? The market is already, well, I'm considering breaking ground on a home this summer and fall and wondering if a crash during the build phase could negatively impact me. Well, yes, it will negatively impact you. And the value of your home at the end of that, might be less. And also, the cost of building goes down significantly after the crash because no one's building. And so right now, the cost of building is quite high because everybody wants to build real estate right now. But building your home, and if you're just going to live in it there forever, you're insulated from a lot of the bad things that happen with that. Really, the only thing that's relevant for you, if you think about this home and you're going to have it for a long time, the only thing you need to know is that the only thing that really affects you is that the cost of the build will go down after the crash. Hey Max, I've heard that BTC is not the original Bitcoin. They're saying BTC, yeah, that's complete bullshit. Don't listen to them. In opposite to other asset classes, commodities are still undervalued and media predicts a commodity supercycle. Hang on. Oh, hang on. I skipped BitCrown reading that question, thinking I'd go back to you and forgot. Let me just do that. Also, on a more macroeconomic question, I have noticed and with your knowledge came to the conclusion most of the Western countries got very similar on macroeconomics level. I agree. So what in the US is happening will also become true for the Netherlands, for example. Yes, I agree. My question is, what do you think about the Great Reset and will we see another crash in real estate prices? Yes, we will see a crash in real estate prices. I can answer this. Or we will see currencies printed to oblivion. So we just don't know which way that's going to go. But almost certainly we'll see a currency crash, a real estate crash. Just a question of when. I think we're up to question 2 for you. Or maybe, let's see. No, to question 1. In opposite to other asset classes, commodities are still undervalued and media predicts a commodity supercycle. Why am I not getting this? In opposite to opposite commodities. In opposite to other asset classes, commodities are still undervalued and the media predicts a commodity supercycle. What is your take on this? And are you going to invest in commodities if real estate prices are not going to fall? No, I'm not going to invest in commodities, mainly because I don't track them. I have my precious metals, and that I'm just I just have that as a little insurance policy that the entire world collapses and nothing is left, including Bitcoin. But I'm kind of done with precious metals. I'm not selling them. I'm not buying them. They're just there. If you are really not selling your Bitcoin and going to earn interest at BlockFi, what happens with the amount of the interest rate if the Bitcoin price falls during the Bitcoin bear market? It'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see. We don't know. We haven't had this around, but so we just have to wait and see. I mean, I can make arguments in both directions, but for right now, we can't. We don't know. All right. All right. Some experts are predicting the US dollar will collapse this year. If they're correct, how would that change your strategy? It wouldn't. I've allowed for that. Wouldn't it be wise to remain in Bitcoin as a safe haven asset rather than switch asset classes? Yes. Yes. Yeah, we'll see. But we'll see. The big one to look at there is what's the government going to do to react? Do they let it collapse or do they come in with money printing? They're almost certainly going to come in with money printing. Um, and so then it's for me, it's more about diversification. If you just stay in Bitcoin forever, you're going to be fine. You're going to be very, 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 very fine. But for me, I'm a cash flow guy, and I really want, as another diversification, I want this big income from real estate. So I'm going to be able to sell a small portion of my crypto and buy a huge chunk of real estate, which is just going to give me hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in income. And that's just another. If I'm horribly wrong on Bitcoin, I've got this as well. So for me, the getting into the real estate is about diversification, not because I think the money is going to be better deployed in real estate than Bitcoin. What are your thoughts on getting cash flow through crypto lending like BlockFi? Yeah, I like it. And by the way, there's a link in the description. It's blockfi.com/max, and you get some cool bonuses when you do that. Rather than switching asset classes. Yep, I've talked about that before, and it's definitely an option. And I will do that with a portion of my Bitcoin with absolute certainty. The only question is, I'm just holding off on the BlockFi thing. I just really hope that we get a cryptographic solution soon. I'll use BlockFi for a small portion when I get around to it, but and I'll do it for the fund. The fund, I'll definitely do it, BlockFi or something else. But yeah. All right. If the end goal is cash flow, why not stay in crypto? Yes, agreed. Okay. How would your strategy to swap Bitcoin for cash flow assets change if we experience a crack up boom this year? Okay, I have to get a little bit of real estate for some tax reasons. But yes, this is absolutely it. I've talked about this already, so it's a good question, but I've just already answered it. Hi, Max. Thanks for the quality content. 2 questions here. Lots of people are expecting Bitcoin to reach 100K this year. Since many will want to cash out at that time, don't you think we will be front-run and might reach 90K price early this year, May, June, and then plummet from there, never reaching 100K? What would you personally do? Yeah, I really think we are going to, 100K is just such a round number. I really think that we might get stuck there for a few months, and this is a very good thought you're having here. Okay, so yeah, it looks possible, but no. If we pull back, we could get a real big pullback. Here's what I think the most likely scenario is. We get to 100K rather quickly, probably by May, which would be perfect because then that would be just an epic prediction I made coming perfectly true. Then I think we're going to come back down. So I think we get to 100K quickly, probably come down significantly, maybe even to 60, maybe even 50. And then I think it'll turn around and go back up, knock on 100K's door a couple times, and then punch through. Please don't mention my full name. This is a video, dude. You put it there. Big fan from Melbourne. Been an SC member for a year now and still enjoying your content. Thank you. I especially liked one of your videos when you spoke more about how you became an entrepreneur. Is there any recommendations or advice you would have for young, low 20s emerging entrepreneurs? Oh yeah, I love this. Like helping entrepreneurs like make that. It's all psychology and this is just my favorite topic of conversation. I love mentoring young entrepreneurs. So let me just read the rest of your question. Maybe this could be a new information tab on the Success Council website. That would be great. Yeah. My advice, number 1, just do stuff. Do stuff, anything, be active, be doing stuff. It is okay. You're going to learn the most through your mistakes. You're going to make a ton of them. Just go and make them. Do it, fail fast, they say. So just go in and fail fast. Hopefully don't get wiped out with your failures. That's why I love the online business. I could start a website or a YouTube channel or whatever. And if I screw it up and mess it up and it never works or I give up, then I've probably sunk $1,000. If I want to go and open a restaurant, and I screw up and stuff up, I probably spend $100,000 on a fit out. So I like the world of online. A, it's the future. B, you can fail inexpensively, and you're just going to be learning the whole time. And you never give up, and you push and you push and you push. And I liken it to just like going against a wall, going against a wall. At some point, you find a crack in the wall, and at some point, you just crack through. And so things tend to happen in like quantum leaps. And yeah, it took me. I was like a miserable, failed entrepreneur for 8 years. I mean, I survived, but being an entrepreneur is hard. It's a lot of work, a lot of extra stresses. It's hard to be friends with people who aren't, because you're going through such a personal growth exercise. You're growing so fast, and they're slumming off to their cubicles. Like they're just, no one grows as much as an entrepreneur, which is the reason to be there. But you find you have a lot of turnover of friends because you keep taking quantum leaps. Even if your finances aren't taking quantum leaps, your energy, your persona, your growth, the human being that you are, takes such quantum leaps that very often you leave friends behind, and you just have to go and find new circles of friends, and that happens all the time, and that's hard and frustrating. And so there's a lot of downsides to being an entrepreneur, but I think it pays off, and I wouldn't have it any other way. But yeah, you just you're always doing something, you're working hard, and you never give up. And pretty much, I don't think you can fail. It might take 20 years or 30 years of misery to succeed, but you will never fail if you stick to that. And I'll also say the risk is a lot less than people think. So for me, I had a degree in electrical engineering, and my mother's fantasy came true, and she get to tell everyone that her son was an electrical engineer and blah, blah, blah. And I said, I'm going to quit this and go and try and figure out a way to make money. And she didn't have a way to explain that. She was from a different generation. She didn't understand it. And so she was just like, I don't know. I wish you well. She always rooted for me, but she lost a lot not being able to, tell her friends that I was something that she could understand and translate into something that was cool that her fellow friends thought. Where was I going with this thread? Oh yes. And the people think that the risk is, well, you're going to invest all these skills in, spend all these years investing skills in entrepreneurship and trying and failing businesses. And if you quit and then go back, which a lot of people do, to the easier world of just being an employee, well, that's fine, but now you're years behind everyone else. That is the biggest truth. Your failures as an entrepreneur will make you way more valuable than your successes as an employee. You will just learn to be, you have to learn sales by definition. You have to learn all the growth you go through. That is so much more valuable than a couple of years in somewhere else. It changes you as a human being, all that adversity and difficulty of entrepreneurship, and you will be more valuable. And an anecdote to kind of prove that, a buddy of mine, he was, so he did the entrepreneurial thing, had a child, got too hard, had some obligations to meet, totally respect it, went and got a job. He was an electrical engineer graduate like me. He was my university buddy. And so when he quit being a failed entrepreneur, went back into some kind of job, he was just a different person. And he actually, although he had no business whatsoever, he just got a job earning way more. So like our graduate salaries were like $50,000, right? He stayed in that for a couple of years, had a couple of years experience. I went off and did my own thing. He saw that and he went, no, screw that. I want to do the entrepreneur thing. Came across, did the entrepreneur thing, had a kid, went back, but his salary should have been like 60, 70, 80,000. Had he have stayed in that world instead of going off for the entrepreneur thing, it would have got up to like 120, let's say. And but then when he went back, right? When he went back, although his previous job was $80,000, when he went back, he grew so much as an entrepreneur. He called me up and he said, I'm going for some, I'm not doing these low-level jobs anymore. I'm going to go for a $200,000 job, which he never, ever, ever would have had the confidence to go for if he didn't become the entrepreneur. Becoming the entrepreneur sent him on such a growth journey that he went, screw it, I'm going to go and apply for a job for $200,000, sold himself in the interview, and got the job for $200,000. So I use that anecdote to say the growth you go through as an entrepreneur is so explosive that if you ever decide to go back, you are actually way more valuable than if you were just another person in the cubicle, plodding through the corporate ladder. Right? You can leapfrog them all by failing miserably as an entrepreneur. Usually, in most circumstances, I believe. So that's all my advice for entrepreneurism. But once you've tasted it, even though it's miserable, and it's like it's assuming like if you go back, it's because you're failing. Like it's not fun when you're failing. Just look at sales, like the best job in the world when you're doing it, when you're making sales, and it's the worst job in the world when you're not. And so you go back, you kind of tail tucked between your legs a little bit, but it's almost like it's like being a bureaucrat. Like your soul die once you've tasted living in the highs and lows of entrepreneurism. You come back into like working to make other people riches. You're just rich. Your highs are just never going to be as high. Your lows are never going to be as low. It's safer. But for me, and maybe it's a personality thing, that's kind of a little bit soul crushing for me. And then you go down another level. There's being an employee in the free market, and then there's being an employee bureaucrat. And I mean, just absolutely soul crushing, where nothing matters. Nothing matters. You can't get ahead. You can't fall behind. You can't screw up. You can't do well. That's soul crushing for me. And yeah, I wouldn't. There's no amount of money you could pay me to do that. Absolutely none. So I like to live in the world of highs and lows over here. I'm just thinking. I'm just learning as I talk right now. So my ex-wife, she had just in terms of life, she would be hugely excited. Like we're going on holidays, like hugely excited weeks before. She'd get really depressed sometimes, and I was just like mono in that world. This is like, oh, yeah, there's a trip coming up, great, awesome. Like that's it. That's the level of excitement. Oh, we just had this really bad thing happen to us. Oh, that sucks. We'll have to regroup, go. And I was like this mono. And but in the entrepreneur world, I really like the highs and lows of wins and losses and everything else. I was just noticing that about myself. All right, great questions. I love those questions. I'll mentor young entrepreneurs all day long. Hi, Max. For someone brand new to your approach, what are the key takeaways that you recommend at this time for investments in cash, stocks, crypto, real estate, and precious metals? I'm just starting to watch videos in the members area and a bit overwhelmed by the generous amount of content. So want to zero in on what's the most critical to shift my allocations before any major changes in the market occur. I am looking to invest in precious metals and more crypto, but will have to either use limited cash or cash out stocks and pay capital gains in order to switch over, but willing to do so to position myself well to avoid losing a lot in a recession. There is no, my dad always used to, when I told him I was going to be an entrepreneur or whatever, my dad said there is no elevator to success, one must take the stairs. And I was like, no, that's a horrible psychology. I'm not adopting that psychology. We're finding it. And I think with my 8 years of failure as an entrepreneur, that was climbing the stairs. And I kind of it's like, okay, maybe I had to climb the stairs. It's not that when the money came fast. But, it's like an 8-year overnight success. So I think you're kind of experiencing this. And there is no shortcut to success here. You are in student mode, you are learning, and there's no I don't want to learn all the stuff, just go and give me this one nugget and then I'll be able to be rich. And yes, to a degree, but there's like I give you lots of key critical things, but just the more things you add, just the better, more powerful investor and forecaster that you become. And the better your results are going to be. So it's a never-ending journey, it's a fun thing. I like it. I'm trying to get my head around your HODL video, and I'm wondering why would someone want to borrow Bitcoin? Hi Barry. Yeah, look, a lot of it's usually big institutions that do it. Like Fidelity or something, they want to get into Bitcoin and offer Bitcoin to their shareholders, but someone in risk said, "Don't buy Bitcoin, just borrow it." And so usually what they borrow it and then they sell it perhaps. And so they are taking the risk. So they're doing it so that they don't take the risk on Bitcoin. They want to borrow it, they'll sell it to their clients and trade with their clients. They have some clients buying, some clients selling. They just need the liquidity there to manage the pools, but they don't want to take the risk on Bitcoin. That's usually when it happens. How useful, but it really doesn't matter. Like, people do, so you don't have to worry about it too much. How useful do you believe Dogecoin will be? It's about as useful as it is now. Not. Is it just, it's a hype coin? Yeah, I have no time for Doge. Based on your previous videos, if American pay taxes on crypto gains, not worth it to do otherwise. Plus, I understand you take other investment actions like real estate to diminish or delay the tax burden. Wonder if a coin-to-coin purchase is considered a qualifying event, since I've read about swapping coins to increase privacy. Yeah, the IRS, I'm pretty sure, check with your accountant, the IRS is going to take trading of coins as selling one coin and buying another. At the moment you sell, taxable event. If your original purchase, if original purchases are on the KYC exchange, and also, yeah, there's no keeping the coins clean if you're on a KYC exchange. What is your strategy for privacy and cleaning your coins? My coins are already cleaned. I just bought them like years and years and years ago. What seems related? It seems related to the tax question. Keeping your coins clean. Yeah, so I guess like the concept of clean coins is that if the government becomes full tyrannical and wants to go around and start harassing Bitcoin holders, then obviously you don't want to be a Bitcoin holder in that jurisdiction. So you can move or whatever. But here's the catch. Again, it's kind of like the living off the grid guy. There's a cost. There's a high cost to having clean coins. It's like it's so much extra work, so much extra headache, and you got to look at the chance of that. And I don't think they're going to become full tyrannical like that. You might have to pay a tax on it or something like that, but that'll be that. I don't know. Yeah, getting clean coins is going to be probably more expensive. It's going to be a lot of time, a lot of headache. But then, okay, you've got clean coins, and now you have to keep them clean. So you've got to keep them out of opportunities like BlockFi. So stuff like that. So there's this huge trade-off there, and I'm not sure if it's worth it for someone coming in new. But for me, I'm de-cleaning my coins, dirtying my coins, and putting them in the system in things like BlockFi and stuff like that. So I hope that helps. Curious about your thoughts about buying privacy coins like Monero with fiat on a KYC exchange. Is there a benefit to buying them with Bitcoin? If you're on the exchange, there's no benefit. It's only if you're buying like peer-to-peer are you going to get away like keeping it clean. This brings me back to the original tax question. If I buy a privacy coin with BTC, would that be a taxable event? Yes, that'll be liquidating the privacy coin. Do you have multiple wallets, same but different address, to keep privacy coins separate? One should do that, yes. Okay, but if they're purchased on KYC exchanges, they're not clean, just so you know. New investor with crypto and started with Bitcoin, considering altcoins. Thoughts on strategy. Plan to hodl as I consider these actions longer term plays. You've shared that your plan is to possibly take gains in September of this year, between September and December this year yet. For a new investor, my sense is that hodl strategy would last through the next halving. Yeah, I held through a halving, nothing wrong with that. Any recommendations about ways to think about this strategy for new investors? No, there's nothing to consider there. You understand, if you want to sell and take your profits, there's going to be a capital gain tax. So you hope that the market comes down so much so that you can come in and buy cheaper than what you sold for, less the taxes, and then you end up with more Bitcoin. So that's a good thing. Do you find an accountant who understands crypto or approach another way? No, I don't. I'm considering reaching out to Dr. Kim about his strategies for investments and wonder if you're familiar with his work. I do not know Dr. Kim. Oh, I think I missed someone there. Where do we go? Bill. First, I want to say that value for dollar, I have never been more pleased with any service than I have ever had. Thank you. Oh, thank you for that, Bill. I appreciate that. My question is if you are familiar with accounting. No, I am not. It's an app that syncs with all your accounts, easy to track everything. Oh, okay. At the year end for taxes. Just not sure what to trust out there. So, okay, when you say sync, they're probably using APIs. Those APIs are pretty safe. And so, yeah, I don't think you're not at risk of losing coins using accointing. I've never heard of accointing, but just what you've described. Those APIs are pretty safe, so I don't have a problem with using them. The only risk is someone else has your personal information. If accointing but you want to use a tax service anyway, so you're just going to have to choose one. But if accointing gets hacked, now they have, now a hacker has your personal information out there and knows how many coins you have, at least at those times. Something to consider. I still do it, and you just hope they don't get hacked. But I can see in the future one of these accounting things getting hacked because they're probably not. They're accountants. They're not crypto people. They're not taking a risk with crypto, but they have crypto personal information, so which is valuable to hackers. So I can just see some of these guys getting hacked at some point. Hey Max, looking at these long-term charts such as the Pi Cycle Top Indicator and the Bitcoin Investor Tool, they've been very accurate. My question is this time around different? Because, yeah, absolutely could be different. So, because it looks as if we're just a few months out from these indicators signaling a BTC top, but if we are going above 100K, then these indicators are not going to be accurate like last time. So do we use them or not? Be careful what you think there, Alex. The Pi Cycle Indicator, in 2017, it went together like almost parallel for a long time. So don't necessarily, just because the Pi Indicator is kind of close and looking together, you'll notice if the price goes up, it'll actually, pardon me, you'll notice that Pi Cycle Indicator can go parallel for quite a while. So that's not necessarily the case. Thanks for everything, Max. 2 questions. What would you say the difference in risk factor is between staking your cryptocurrencies to earn interest versus BlockFi? Second, I want to remove a chunk of my cash into DAI since it seems 2% versus keeping it in cash that loses value every year. However, I can't seem to find a way to get around the fees to get it, which pretty much eats up the profits. So, okay, staking versus BlockFi. Let's answer that first. So staking is superior to BlockFi in most ways. Okay, usually Ethereum is different. When you stake Ethereum, you've got to leave it in there for I think 2.5 years. Most staking things you can get them back out much shorter. But with Ethereum, for example, you've got to put it there for a long time. With BlockFi, you can get it out straight away. However, BlockFi introduces risk. You don't hold the keys anymore. They are a lending institution. I really like their model. I think it's minimal risk, but there is the risk of massive defaults and shock crashes and et cetera, et cetera. That is the thing. So staking is you're cryptographically secure and you still hold your keys. I like that. But some of you got to hold them up long. So they're the trade-offs. Trade-offs with everything, right? Some say there will be a severe correction in the stock market soon, up to 80%. How do you think? Yeah, I've kind of answered that. What do you expect altcoins to peak before or after BTC breaks? Is there any particular order they will peak in market cap? Last time altcoins peaked in advance after. I think that'll probably happen again. What is your prediction for the peak total market cap of all cryptocurrencies during this 21? I haven't looked at that. I haven't got a figure for that. But if you want to work it out, let's say Bitcoin gets to $300,000 and is 50% Bitcoin dominance at the time. You can reverse engineer my prediction from that. How do large purchases affect the price of a coin? For example, if a wealthy individual buys $1 billion of Bitcoin, does the price go up 10% or more? So there's no mathematical function like 10%, like you're using a lot of round numbers. There's no, it doesn't work like that. Well, $1 billion into $10 billion market cap, that is huge. That would move the market significantly. So, yeah, so there's a couple things here. It depends on how they do it. So large people buying large amounts, they should use what's called over-the-counter. So you can do this at like Kraken and Coinbase and all the major exchanges. When you're a whale, you can just like text them or call them and say, hey, I want to buy them. And you're not going on the order book. You're on a separate proprietary order book for all intents and purposes, and you don't see it. If you put a large amount of money on an exchange and hit buy market or sell, you can rapidly, because you're eating through the order book, and you rapidly move the market really quickly. But big players don't do that. So like Michael Saylor, who's bought, God knows how much, he's been doing that all through over-the-counter stuff. And so just so you know, that happens. But so this becomes especially relevant if you have a small cap coin. You can really move the market. Like I can move the market easily. You buy a $100,000 purchase can move the market, because it's all to do with the liquidity of the pool. How much money is on the order book, and so it's about gobbling up the sellers that exist. Some sellers exist on the order book. Some sellers exist on over-the-counter trades. So you just have to be mindful of that, and there's no easy way to answer that question. Hey Max, I had lots of Bitcoin I've been collecting at a place in Canada. I've been told it could be KYC and I need to clean it before. No, you don't need to clean it. You asked this question before, haven't you? Oh, did I answer this here? I think I answered it already. Which is, no, you don't. I've never heard of these things. This thing, you've got to clean your coins. Like, I just don't buy it. No, you don't have to clean your coins. There are trade-offs to cleaning your coins. And, quite frankly, the instance, you only need to do it with a small portion of your coins too. Because in the instance where you need it to be clean, then 90% of people are going to have unclean coins, and whatever bad thing happens to unclean coins happens to 90% of Bitcoin holders. And so now you have, what's happening? Yes, you're holding clean coins, but the price still got destroyed. And I don't know what's going to happen. I didn't get it. There's value to having clean coins. Don't get me wrong. I do get it, but the cost of it is quite high. You don't want to assume that you have to do it. So no. Excited to be a member of Success Council. My question is, do you have an opinion on Argo blockchain? I don't. It seems that the price of the stock is correlated to Bitcoin. Do you think that's a good investment before the stock market crash, or should I play it safe and invest in BTC directly? Yeah, I've never heard of this thing, but I would go BTC directly, get native coin. Can you show your personal views on the stock market? Now that there is more institutional money in BTC, do you feel price movement with S&P and BTC will work together? No, not necessarily. Do you expect a major correction in the stock market? Yes, but when, I don't know. Yeah, these are all good questions, but I've answered these earlier in the stream. I have a majority of my holdings in crypto and real estate and would like to know your opinion of diversifying profits. Sorry, my holdings and I don't believe in diversified. If you know something's a good place to be there. So I'm not a big fan of diversification. In the US, it appears that anytime you swap a coin for a coin, it's a taxable event. That's my understanding too. What is the best strategy to not have a taxable event? You just can't sell it. How do we keep the money grabbers from our hard-earned coins? There's lots of different strategies here. One is you never sell it and you just lend it and you make income off of that using blockfi.com/max as an example of how you can do that. But there's other ways as well. And there's other ways you can just, so what I'm doing, I've set myself up in a way, I am a real estate professional in IRS terms. And with bonus first year depreciation, you're going to have to look that up. Basically, if I do sell crypto, whatever money I would have paid in taxes, I don't have to. I can use it to buy a piece of real estate. And then the deductions that occur because of that purchase basically offset the capital gains I would have paid on the real estate, on the crypto. So there's two methods by which I've done that. Hi Max, what do you think about Bitcoin IRA? I don't know. I've answered this question before in this stream. All good questions go the ways. If I skip your question, doesn't mean it was a bad question. I just answered it before. I'm currently using a basic platform in Canada. Extremely limited options. Yeah. How many platforms should I be enrolled in? Yeah, you should. It's good to have a couple. Yeah. So I think Coinbase is best for rookies. So you might want to start there. How much? And also Binance is a good one. It's got like 800 coins in there. You might want to be there. How much does it cost to trade and buy altcoins? So each different exchange charges different fees for that. So you just have to look at the different exchange. If you have $1 million in debt and you have one Bitcoin, what would you do? Let me see the rest of this question. What should high debt people do now? So what do you mean? So it's hard to imagine you have $1 million in debt without some corresponding asset. I don't know. There's just nowhere near enough information for me to even understand. You have $1 million debt, but what's your other assets? What's your cash flow? What's your investing goals? What's your risk appetite? I just can't answer that question, Ruben. Sorry, there's too many pieces missing. All right, guys, we're at the end. I hope you like that. So please smash that like button, do that subscribe, and I think I'm going to do a Bitcoin news video next. So go ahead and subscribe, and I'll do that for you. And apologies for that blip in the middle of this. I think I was MIA on the stream for a little bit, but cool. We'll see you guys soon. Take care.